Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now in this video what I want to do is to create the simple little profile page thing. So we're gonna go ahead and look at how I did this. There's not much dynamic stuff in here. It's more, some amount of duplicate code, but you'll get to see it exactly. So let's get right into it. Alright, so as you can see here we have in our app.view file, we basically only have this template with div here, and what I want to do is to actually go ahead and utilize the components. So we're in the view component series, so we're going to create a profile component, and we're going to add the dot extension, and we're going to do all the code in here. So first I'm just going to go ahead and type this and just say profile, and we can save this in our app.view, or we can just go ahead and bring in our profile component. And I wish I had that WebStorm IDE, because that would just automatically import it for me. But let's just go ahead and manually import it. So components, and this is our profile component, and we want to also import this. So we just registered it, so we're just going to import it now. I don't know why I find that I do that before. Probably should import it first, but there we go. Alright, so there we go. So we imported it, we registered it, and we're using it in here. So let's save this, and we can look at the terminal. And we have an issue. This should be an S, should have an S. There we go. If we head back over here, we can see our profile there, so we know that it is registered and it's working properly. So let's start to actually code this thing out. So I won't be using the div. I will be using the v app, because this really helps with certain things that because this is basic. This is I think is the main wrapper, and it really helps with the layout of your view your Vuetify components. Then I'm going to add a v main. So this is how I typically do my layouts, and usually we have a container. This one for me usually is optional, but for the most part I always have v main, because it gives it a certain structure and help with certain styling that I've seen in my applications. So we have our container here. The next thing that I want to do is to just go ahead and align everything, get everything to the center. So we have these props that will help us to do that. So we're going to say align center, and we're going to justify to the center as well. And the next thing that I like to do is to do a fill height, and what this does is that it fills the whole screen, and it also centers, if I remember correctly, also centers the content, which is something I really like that it does. So if I remember correctly, I could actually remove all of this, and this will just do the job there and then. Next thing that I want to do is add a row, and we all know that a column always follows a row, but in the row there is something that I want to add in here, and there's two things actually. We want to add a class, and we also want to add another justify, and this one we're going to have space between, well actually around. So we want the space around prop on here. The next thing that I want to do is to add a background image. So that image that you saw, that is what we're going to be adding, but this image is going to be coming from our styles property. So we're just going to go ahead, or our styles area actually, and we're just going to go ahead and just add that image in there. So it's a background image, so that's why I have bg image, a background image, or bg img, and we're just gonna add the styling. which is just going to be background image, and we're going to use a URL, and you know that this is a string that we're passing in. What I'm just going to do is just copy that image URL, which comes from Peekabay. That's where that comes from. Some other stuff that we want to add here is for the image not to repeat, and I want it to all the size, add a size for it to cover the whole thing. So we're gonna go ahead and do a background repeat, and we're going to have this to not repeat, or set it to not repeat, and we also want to get the size. And for me, what I want for the size is just for it to cover the canvas or the area that we need it to cover. And we want also the position of it, and for me, I want it to be centered. The background position, I want it to be centered and to the top, or centered to top. Another thing that I want is that usually with images, you know, that it's gonna have a sharp edge, but I don't want it to have that sharp edge. So what I'm going to do is just add an image radius, our border radius. That's going to be 3 pixels. So let me just go ahead and save this, and let's look at it in the browser. Alright, awesome. So this is what it looks like now, because there is no content in it and it's not extended. So as a result, this is how it's going to look. Let's just go ahead now and add the rest of content that we need to actually fill the information in here. So within our columns, we're just going to add the props to set this to 12 columns by default, but as I said, by default it actually is set to 12. So this is basically some redundancy. I don't know why I keep doing it, but it doesn't hurt, so let's leave it like that. Another thing that I want to do is add some margin from the top. So we're adding 8 for our Vuetify class. We're just getting some margin from the top there. Next thing is to add a card, and this is where we're going to have basically all of our information. And I'm going to add a width of 400, I believe. That should be good enough. The next thing that we want is a V image, and this V image is what's going to be that it should be that second background image, I believe, pixels. So we just want the height to be 200 pixels, and the source is going to be coming from another Peekabay image. So we're just gonna grab this, paste it there, and here we're just gonna go ahead and add some additional stuff. So what we want is to build a app bar area where you have the V icon, which will basically be, it's gonna be within the image. So the image is gonna be on the background, and then we're gonna have the V app bar, and it's gonna have the avatar for the user, so the user's profile image or whatever, and it's gonna have their name and also a vertical dots menu as well. So we're gonna add this in here, and let's just add a class, and we're gonna push this down by 8 as well. So margin from the top. Flat is another property that we would like to add to the app bar, but what happens is that flat has been deprecated. The Vuetify team has pushed this to be deprecated. So what they recommend is that we use text now, but I've found that this, I don't know if it's because I don't have the upgraded version, but this doesn't work all that great for me, at least none of the app that I tested out with. So what I had to do was just to go ahead and I made a mistake, just to go ahead and do elevation and set it to 0, and I believe that actually helped. But for now, let's just leave it as text, and then we can if anything we can change it afterwards. So we're gonna add BG color. We're gonna just basically reset these. So 0, 0, 0. So that's, well, this should be a comma. Alright, so that's that. And now we can just move on to our V avatar. So this is what we're gonna have next. And our V avatar is going to have a size of 100 because that's pretty much a good enough size to be to have an avatar. And within here we're gonna have a normal HTML image tag, which doesn't seem to be, oh, there we go. We're just gonna add, I'm gonna add another image from Picabay, which is basically just that face, I believe it was, but it doesn't, it shows, it's quite artistic, and we're just gonna put user for our alt text. Probably should put alt on this as well. Let me see, alt, not user, and this will be our background image, our profile background image, card, profile card background image. It's very descriptive for persons who may need that. So user profile image. So you want to get these to be very descriptive. So that should be that. Then I'm just gonna put a space because we want to push the menu option that's gonna go next to the right. So here we're gonna go ahead and add the V menu, and it's only gonna have one thing in it. So the one, before I even do anything else, I want to add an offset of Y there, and I also want to allow it to push out to the left. So the next thing is for us to add our template. Please do that again. Template. It's not working. Okay, I'm gonna have to manually type that in. Template. There we go. And then we just add our V slot. This should be mostly familiar with for most persons. So V slot, and add our activator, which is going to be for the on, and our attributes. So this is pretty much all that we need, and I typed it incorrectly. There we go. So this is all that we need, and we're getting this squiggly line because it's not used as yet. So when it is used, then we'll see these. And to be honest, you don't necessarily have to. There are other ways that we can implement these, like even from the data part of the script. We can actually implement it from there, but this is just another very easy way for us to do this. So let's go for VBDN. So this will be the button. So within here, what we're just gonna go ahead and do a vbind on the attributes, and then on, so a v on the on, and as you can see now, it's not showing that squiggly lines anymore. We're gonna add a color. For me, I want it to be white because of the background that it has, and it's going to also be an icon. So within here now, what we're gonna need to do is just to add a V icon component, which is just going to take the vertical dots. So that's vertical without any S, and this should be our menu right here, and this is pretty much all that we need for the header aspect of it, or for the app bar aspect. So let's save this and look at it in the browser. Alright, here we go. So that's close to what we should be seeing. I'm not seeing the menu, which is weird. Should be seeing a menu here as well, but I'm not seeing it. See if I did something wrong. Let's see. So we added the V. Oh, here we go. I think this is where we messed up, because we did not place all of these within the V app bar. So all of these should be within the V app bar. Let's save that. Build, and there we go. Now you can see that it's aligned properly to the top, and we have our menu, which does not have anything at the moment. We're gonna add some stuff in it now. So let's get back to this. So the next thing that we want to do is just to add a V list, because this is where it's going to be getting the content to be placed when we hit the button. So we're gonna do a VList item, and in our VList item we're gonna have a VList item title. And for me, this is just way too much components, way too much boilerplate, but it's what the Vuetify thing did, so we're just gonna work with that. For now, I could also just add, well, we could add an href, but it's not gonna go anywhere, so we can leave it like that for now. So that should be that. Let's just go ahead and save this, and you can have a feel of what it does. Okay, so that did not go the way it should. I think I did make a mistake, so this should actually be within the menu. So let me just add this right here. So it should be within the menu. Format this correctly. Let's get back over here. There we go. So when you click this now, you can see that it pushes out under here to the bottom from again the offset was Y, and it pushes to somewhat to the left. I mean, if that attribute was not there, then it probably would have pushed out on the outside more. But that's pretty much what we need for that. So let's just go ahead and continue from there, and everything is done that what we need within the V app bar itself. So from here we can now start the rest of this thing. Well, actually, we're gonna start on the outside of the image. So we're still within the card, so we're just gonna go ahead and add a V card text, and I'm going to go ahead and add, before I even continue, I'm missing the title. I remember that it had a name, so we're gonna add a V card title, and for this we're gonna give it some Vuetify classes. So we're gonna get the text to be white, and we're also going to push it down by 8 as well. And within here we're gonna go ahead and add a paragraph tag, and within our paragraph tag we're just gonna go ahead and push it from the left as well by 3, so we don't want it to hitch to the left. And all this is going to say is name. I'm just gonna go ahead with Jane Doe. Pretty much this would be dynamically imported, so it would be something like user dot name, and it's in the template syntax, but for this instance we're just going to hard code that in there, and this is actually going to be within the image as well. So under the app bar in the image. So let's save this, and you can get an idea of what this looks like. So there we go, Jane Doe, right under the user profile, and we have our menu to edit as well. So let's get right back into this here. Now on the outside of the image, so we're done with whatever we is in the image at this point. So it's just straight down. The next thing that I want to do is just to add a div. This div, again, this is optional. You can probably put something else, but I'm just gonna put a div that basically is going to give like a title or whatever. So this is what we're gonna see next, is the details. So I'm gonna actually add some Vuetify style or some style to this. So we're gonna bold the font weight, and we're going to push this from the left by 8. We're also going to have a margin bottom of 2. So that's that. The next thing that we want to do now within the card is to add another vlist, which is going to hold all the contents for our user. So the list is going to be a two line list. So that's what we're going to have. So just going to go ahead and vlist item, and then we're going to add a vlist item title, and this is extremely exhausting. Well, actually we're going to add an icon first before we add the title. So the icon that we saw before earlier, so the first one that we saw was, I believe it was a phone icon. So we're gonna put that there, saying the phone, and within here we are going to, well, actually I made a mistake. So we have vlist item icon, so I'm getting it wrong. Vlist item icon, and then this is vlist item icon as well. And in here we're going to have vlist v icon here. Now within here, this is where we're going to have the v phone, or the IMD iPhone. And actually I want to put a color on this as well. The color that we have on here, space, the color that we're going to put is indigo. So this is pretty much it. We have the vlist, we have the vlist item, and we have the vlist item icon, and we also have the vlist icon itself. Now continuing in here, so still within the vlist item, we're going to add vlist item content. So this is the content that we're going to be in here. So we're gonna add vlist item icon item title, and this is, you can see that it's quite frustrating just to say this thing. We're gonna put a number in here. So this is where the number is, and then I'm just gonna, oh, it didn't duplicate. I'm gonna copy this because I don't know how to duplicate in VS Codium. So I'm just gonna copy everything that's here, and I'm just gonna put subtitle here and subtitle here. So vlist subtitle, and this is just gonna be the type of number that it is, and it's a mobile number. Now we're gonna add one more icon, and I'm just gonna copy it because obviously why would I type it out. So we're just gonna go ahead and remove the color that is on here, and I'm just gonna put a message text icon. So this is the one that is to the right. So this is our item here, and what I'm gonna do is to basically just add a v divider in here, so we can divide what is on the bottom and add the inset attribute or prop to this thing, and that should be that. Let's just save this now and look at it in the browser. There we go, lovely. So you can see we have our call icon, then we have the number, the mobile, the type, and we have this this chat thing here. So when you click on this, it should actually probably open it in text. When you click on this, it probably opens it in the call. Doesn't really matter. It depends on how you wanna add the functionality to this, but we're not gonna add any functionality to this one at this moment. We're just gonna look at basically the design and the layout of this, and that should be pretty much that. So what I'm gonna do now is, just to save some time, I am going to just go ahead and paste the rest of the information that is in here. This is not formatted properly, but let me just grab this, and this I'm just copying from the original one that I had created. As you can see, I added some selfless shapeless promotion, self-promotion, I guess you could say. So this will link you back to my website. So that's pretty much that. Let's save this and look at it in the browser. There we go. So now we have pretty everything that we need, and our Vuetify profile card is now completed. So it's basically the same things that I added. If you want to look at it, it's just another row and a div, basically another list item, same stuff. The last one doesn't have the second icon in it, so that's why we're not seeing the additional icon in here. But that is pretty much it. So yeah, you can go ahead and add functionalities. Maybe if you guys want me to add functionalities to this, then we can also add functionalities like editing or whatever. When we click on these, what they will do and stuff like that. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.